Well, now for more on Venezuela, we're joined by Eduardo Gamarra in Miami. He's a political science professor at Florida International University. Eduardo, we've got a lot to get through here. Let me ask you first of all, there was a risk, wasn't there, that Guaido wouldn't be readmitted or that he would be arrested on his return. That hasn't happened. He's back in the country, essentially walking through the front door. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that probably the government is beginning to weigh at least the international importance of Guaido. The fact that the entire diplomatic corps was at the airport to receive him means essentially that his order and that of his deputies to arrest him upon return could not essentially be implemented without having an international incident. The fact that Mr. Guaido had such a successful tour around South America, and that those very ambassadors then were, except the Colombian ambassador, were at the airport, means quite a bit. Now, however, you know, not only the fact that he went all the way into central Caracas and had this enormous rally, the game is still not over, well, and it's very, you know, it's still a very tenuous situation.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you next. I mean, might he yet be arrested? He said that he knows he might be. Maduro's in a difficult spot. I mean, presumably the next couple of weeks for Guaido is going to be quite difficult.
Yes, and not only because you know, he's technically well guarded right now by his supporters, but the government's order to arrest him probably is still in effect. And Guaido has called for two things. He's called for a meeting tomorrow with members of the bureaucracy, as he called it, and he called for a meeting with members of labor unions. Yeah. And he's also called for a major rally on Saturday. Those are two things that really are doing what I think he learned during his trip outside of Venezuela. That it really depends, his success depends on his ability to keep the people on the streets. With him in Venezuela, the possibility of people rallying behind him, of course, is extraordinary. And that's the reason why he had to return. We'll see now, you know, what the government's next move is, but the government hasn't said anything yet, and so I think let's wait patiently to see what the government says.
No, why hasn't the government said anything, do you think? I understand it's Carnival there, that's fair enough, but they might have been expected to say something or show a bigger presence of strength. I don't know. What do you think?
It's hard to gauge what they said, because some of the declarations last week, you know, threatening Guaido with arrest if he returned to Venezuela were quite vociferous. So it's surprising that they haven't said anything yet. You know, a lot of the speculation is that the chain of command is breaking. Remember that the message that Guaido has given to the military is probably the most important message. Many analysts on Venezuelan radio here and on TV and so on are saying that they suspect that the chain of command is broken.
Right.
I think that's great speculation. I don't think the chain of command is broken, and the government is still counting on, you know, on Cuban presence and also on the support from Russia.
Right. And so just finally and briefly, if you will, he has made some big promises, hasn't he? Some of them you outlined just there in an earlier answer. Do you think he can maintain this momentum that we see with these extraordinary scenes in Caracas right now? And might the military swap sides? That's the big question, right?
Yes, it's the big question. Again, I think it's premature to talk about a complete rupture of the chain of command. And that's, I think, what it would take. I'm not sure that we're quite there yet. But it will take extensive pressure on the streets. And maintaining people on the streets, especially if a repression begins to occur and if people begin to die more than they have in the last few weeks, then I think, you know, it really is the resolve of Guaido to keep the pressure on the streets and then the ability of the government to resist. So it is a stalemate, and we'll see how far it goes.
Okay, Professor Gamarra, thanks very much for your thoughts. Thank you.